As this Houston Sports Talk back into the video today. And today we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets potentially trading for Eric Gordon. I'd love to see Eric Gordon come back to Houston and reunite with some of his former teammates. And I think this would be a potential good idea. I think the biggest thing I've always talked about with this Rockets team is they do everything so well. They're great with rebounding. They're great with defense. And, there's nothing that you don't need to improve on those ends. And you have some firepower with Amen and Jalen and also LP. But the one weakness of this team is 3-point shooting. And they need to address that at the trade deadline. You don't need to go out there and get a big star. You don't need to trade any of your young pieces or good draft picks to land a star. You don't need a Fox or a Booker or a Butler or Durant. Those names sound nice, right? But a star isn't the biggest need of this Rockets team. I think they play well with their three young stars already and their stud point guard and Fred VanVleet. So I think star wise, you don't really need anything when you already have Fred, Jalen, Amen, and Sengun. I think the Rockets are fine in that category. But the one weakness of this team is 3-point shooting, and I think with the way the game is played right now, with how good 3-point shooting is and how much teams how many times we see the three shot in a game, the Rockets don't shoot the ball that much from three. They don't, when they do, they're not very good with it. So I think the biggest need at this deadline for the Rockets that is almost a week away is 3-point shooting. And who other than one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, who's shooting 40% from three and is very familiar with this Rockets team to go get than Eric Gordon. And he has chemistry with some of the guys on this team. He's played with Jalen Green. He's played with Alperen Sengun, and a couple other guys on this team, Jae'Sean Tate as well, who even though if this trade happened, he'd still be on this team. I'll go over what the details of this trade would be. I mean, played with Jeff Green in Houston in the 2019-20 season. He's another guy that has played with Eric Gordon. There are plenty of guys on this roster that have played with Eric, and you need 3-point shooting. Go ahead and go get a guy that will help with that, and that's Eric Gordon. So this year, shooting 40% from three on 4 attempts per game. Recently with Philadelphia has been playing a lot better basketball. Last 4 games, he's averaging 13, 15, 9, and 10, averaging a total of, I think it's like 12, 13 points per game in his last 4 games. And then in his last 5 games, he has averaged a total of 4 assists, a little bit over 4 assists per game. So, I think it'd be a nice guard to have off the bench. Now you have Amen Thompson starting, and I really don't think the Rockets should look to, I don't think the Rockets should look to put Amen Thompson back on the bench. But now that Amen Thompson is not starting anymore, I think this team could use some facilitating off the bench, because starting you got Fred and you got Jalen, Amen, and Brooks and Sengun, but then off the bench there's Tari Eason, there's Cam Whitmore, there's Steven Adams. Those 3 guys are great, and Steven Adams has done a solid job facilitating this year, but he's a big man. There's not really a great guard out there that's facilitating for this team right now. Aaron Holiday comes in and gives you some solid minutes, but he's solid. And Jae'Sean Tate has given this team some minutes this year, but Reed Shepherd, I don't think is a guy that you really want, in the playoffs getting minutes. I mean, Reed Shepherd's great. I think he's going to be a great future of this team. I mean, I hope next year he has a really solid sophomore season, but I think in the playoffs, you should look to have a more experienced guard, and who else but Eric Gordon, who not only has experience in the league, but experience playing for this Houston Rockets team. I know he's a little bit out there in age at 36 years old, but here's a shooting guard who could also play point guard if you need him to, and really can play through the 1 through the 3 if you need him to. And would come in and be a nice backup point guard for the Rockets. And not only that, but a great shooter for this Rockets team. I'd love to see Amen Thompson and Alperen Sengun, who are 2 really good facilitators, have a reliable shooter who's shooting 40% from the floor like Eric Gordon. So, yeah. But what does this trade look like? Aaron Holiday would be headed to Philadelphia. Aaron Holiday this year has averaged 4 points per game. He's averaging 1 rebound per game, 1 assist per game, shooting 37% from three in 32 games. And then the Rockets would send 2 second-round picks to Philadelphia for Eric Gordon. And that's how you reunite Eric Gordon in Houston. And you get a good shooter and you improve the shooting. I don't think you need to go out, you don't need to go out there and get a superstar. What you need is shooting, and Eric Gordon could be a nice cheap option. Let me know your thoughts on the potential trade in the comment section. Peace out.